It was actually a fellow who had sponsored my brother Fred's sponsor. And he was showing the plan, and about halfway through I needed another can of beer, so I'm back out and got another beer and sit there. And I would imagine how I would feel today if someone did that to me. Do you know what I mean? Because you think all the different things. I mean, little did he know that there was a diamond sitting there. He's probably thinking, oh, poor drunkard, he's a dumb to you, we'll get him out of the way, or something like that, And we got all done, and in that meeting room, there was a financial man. He knew a lot about securities and finance and all the highbrow, institutions of finance and everything that went on in the world of finance and Wall Street and all of those things. And he got up afterwards and began quizzing the man who was showing the plan of the legality of the program, of this, of that, and all the different things. And fortunately, I didn't know any of those questions. Fortunately, I had the confidence that goes with ignorance, and I just believed that it would work. All right? And so we started building the business. And I know that right now, the amount of money that we pay in income tax is probably more than he makes in 2 or 3 years. See, sometimes it's smart to be dumb. Do you know what I mean? Where sometimes we know too much, where we almost become dangerous with all this academic knowledge, and we don't use common sense. And common sense is really simply genius in work clothes. That's all that it is. It's just common sense. It just makes sense. But Abraham Lincoln said that, common sense is very uncommon. That we talk about an awful lot of how simple things are to do, but we watched the plan that night and kind of wondered if maybe we could do it. Now, it was interesting. We didn't have a system back then. We didn't really know what we were doing. And about 3 months later, my brother Fred followed up with us. I mean, it wasn't 24 to 48 hours. It was 3 months later. And the way he followed up was to bring a sales kit in and say, here's your kit. We're going to get you started. And we hadn't really talked much over because I lived about 6 hours from Fred, so we weren't that close geographically, and then he organized a meeting, and we got together and had some folks over, and I invited 3 couples to that first meeting, 2 of which I knew would get in, and one that I invited because he was a friend of the other 2. And only 1 couple got in that night. And it was the couple that was the friend. It wasn't either of the 2. The 2 that we showed it to that we thought for sure would do it said, oh, that'll never work. That'll never work. But I kept thinking, what if it does? What if it does? People say, well, I don't know if that thing will work. I said, but what if it does? What would you do with an extra 2,000 or 3,000 pounds a month? How would that make the choices at home a little bit different? What if we could get it to work for you? And so we started the business and began moving along and showing the program to a lot of different people. Nothing seemed to be clicking, but we were getting our feet wet. We were getting some knowledge. We were getting educated when we didn't even know we were getting educated. We were learning how to answer people's objections when we didn't even know we were learning that. We were learning how to contact people when we didn't even realize we were learning that, because we were going through the process and we were learning. It's kind of like going to college, or going to university. You spend 3 or 4 years, 5 or 6 years. I spent almost 7 years in university getting various degrees and going along step by step as you're learning and learning and learning. Well, here what's nice is, as you're learning, you also get paid. And you get paid very handsomely. And I can remember we had sponsored several folks in the business, and all of a sudden, nothing worked. Nothing we attempted to do would work. In fact, we showed it to 29 people in a row, and nobody got in. And I kind of grinned, because I knew I wasn't showing it to the best kind of people. Do you know what I mean? I was... if this quality of person doesn't see it, well, then maybe I'll show it to this one. Then maybe I'll show it to this one. Then I'll show it to this one. And finally it got to the point where I had to tap people on the shoulder and say, yo, wake up. You are a human being. Let me show you something. You know what I mean? We're almost begging people to look at this, and figure, well, we as an educator, they would certainly join us in the business. And none of them did. And after that 29th guy, we had to make a decision. Not really a serious decision, because there was never really a question in my mind. I just said we have to show it to number 30. And here's what's interesting. Number 30 was a couple that got in, and they got excited. And their business today does just over $2 million worth of business a month. All right? So we could have quit at 29 and said, that's enough for us. But you know what? I don't know what kind of fire you're going to have to walk through. I know that our fire was just about as much as we could handle. And I think that's what God does to us. He'll give you the challenge based on your ability, based on what he knows you can handle, and he's going to take you right to the wall. He's going to see if you really want those dreams. Why do you want to be a diamond? Why do you want to accomplish those things? And I think he's going to test us each and every step along the way. Just as fire will temper steel, I think challenges and adversity here temper us as human beings. We become stronger. We become better because we now walk around with pride and dignity because we know that we fought the fight. And that's really, I think, what the lifestyle of diamond is all about. When you can walk in and people know that there's somebody a little bit different in the room. You know, where you're showing the program, we showed it to about 4 weeks ago, we showed it to a thoracic surgeon and his wife. Very successful. Makes a tremendous amount of money, but also realizes that his income is totally dependent on these hands. It's totally dependent on this ability to continue producing, and he realizes if he loses that ability to produce, the income will drop severely. Right? I mean, how many of you would go to a thoracic surgeon if he was standing there saying, look, if he developed, something, so we'll wait till tomorrow, we're going to cut you open and we're really going to have a good time with you. I mean, how many of y'all would be there tomorrow? I mean, that'd be exciting. It's like the cross-eyed discus thrower. He doesn't set any records, but he keeps everybody alert. I think the same thing is true here. These people realize what a thin thread, that their income and their lifestyle is dependent on. Here's what's interesting. I was the department chairman of a whole section in the school. The department that I was the chairman of, the whole department is no longer in existence. They phased it out completely. So little did I know that I would have been out of a position, whether I wanted to or not. So it was kind of nice to go in at age 32 and say, I believe you guys are redundant. I just don't need you anymore. Do you know what I mean? How would you feel being able to do that? And just knowing that you could come home and be a full-time daddy so that you could sit down and have cereal with the children in the morning. Do you have alphabet cereal here with have all the letters in it? And we'll sit there with the kids and we'll have a contest to see who can make the most words. That's exciting to me. To take my little son Jared or my daughter Tara or Jen and just go for a walk around the farm. To go for a walk down across the golf course early in the morning when the dew's still wet on the grass and the fog is just coming up over the little pond that's down there, and to watch the geese and the ducks come in. And they say, Daddy, why is the sky blue? And just talk about the little things. That to me is what the lifestyle of diamond is like, where I don't have to punch into some clock. I don't have to wake up to some ding-dong alarm, that tells me when to get up, when to go to work, when to come home. Do you know what I mean? Where someone else is controlling your life, but where you have control. And I figured that's worth it. I'll show it to number 30. And I'll show it to 31. I'll show it to 32. And we'll keep the business moving and so on. And so as we began to develop the business, I kept thinking about what that last day would be like. I kept thinking what it would be like to be able to move my wife and family into a home that they deserve to live in. To be able to take Polly into a jewelry shop and just go like this and say, hey, fill it up. Just say, here it is, fill it up. And then she'll take the other hand and say, this one too. It's interesting. I tell you what, it's going to blow your mind, what you're able to do. But you do it step by step. Patiently, step by step. As you continue moving forward, you continue one step in front of the other. The longest journey begins with a single step, and you continue that step process. Everybody wants things so rapidly today. We have instant coffee and microwave ovens, and everything's got to be done right now. Communication is instantaneous. I told one fella, last week I put instant coffee in my microwave oven and actually went backwards in time. It was so fast. All right? And I think of how we were so impatient as a people today, in this generation, when really it still takes patience. All right? But not so much patience that we sit around waiting for it to happen. It's like my sister one time lost an item, I forget what it was, and my mom went upstairs to see her, and she was sitting on a chair. And Mother said to her, well, what are you doing? She said, well, I prayed to St. Anthony. He's going to find it for me. Now, I think we got to go do it. You got to pray like it depends on God, but work like it depends on you. We've got to have that faith that he wants us to win, but then it's up to us. He'll give you the nut, but it's up to you to crack it. He'll feed the birds in the field, but he doesn't drop the worms in the nest. And he'll take care of you. He'll provide the good things for you, but it's up to you and I to go seek it out. To go just have fun and really find out what's out there. And I think that process, as we're going to get it done, sometimes we need pushed. It's like this big Texan down there, and he's a big old guy and very wealthy, and he said, he had a big party around his swimming pool, and he had the swimming pool, which is about as long as the auditorium here, filled with alligators. And he was boasting one night, and he had everyone around the pool, and he grabbed a microphone. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, have your attention." He said, "This pool's got dangerous killer alligators in it." He said, "I will give whoever can swim the length of this pool either $1 million in cash, one of my many ranches, or my daughter's hand in marriage." And no sooner did he say that, and splash, a young fella hit the water at the other end of the pool. And he's coming out through the pool. He's dodging alligators, and they're lunging at him, trying to get him, bite him. And he's swimming back and forth, back and forth. Finally, he climbs up out of the pool right where the man's standing with the microphone. And the big old Texan was just amazed. He said, "I can't believe it. I can't believe you had the courage to swim that length for just one of those 3 rewards." He said, "Which do you want, the daughter's hand in marriage, the $1 million cash, or one of the ranches?" And the fellow was a little bit out of breath. He said, "Sir," he said, "really, sir, I don't want any one of those 3. He said, "I just want to get my hands on the guy that pushed me in." And I think sometimes you and I need to be pushed in. We need to get pushed in so that we can get up on the dance floor and learn how to dance. We need to have someone to encourage us to do it. And that's what my brother Fred, as a sponsor, and his wife Linda, that's what they did with Polly and I. They believed in us whenever we didn't believe in ourselves. We couldn't have had better sponsors if we could have picked them ourselves. We had somebody there that believed in us. Now that doesn't mean that they were always sympathetic. Because see, sometimes you have to challenge people if you believe in them. Sometimes you have to say, "Look, partner, you've got what it takes. It's time you get off your rusty dusty and go do it." Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we may not have liked the words that he used or the things that he said, but he had one purpose, one thing in mind, and that was to help us to win. He always wanted us to win. You must believe that about your sponsor and your upline, your pearls, your emeralds, and we know them. They want you to win, and they want you to win big. But they know that sometimes they've got to rattle your cage. It's like, I told some of them back here, we're kind of rattling as they go on to Diamond. I said, we tried loving you there. Hasn't worked so far, so now what we're going to do is try to irritate you. We'll just stay under your skin and just let you know, hey, we believe in you, we love you, we want you to win. We want you to make this thing happen in a big, big way. Because what will happen is, after a while, what your heart knows today, your head's going to figure out later on. We have to know what it is in our heart today. The line that joins all nations is not a geographic line or a line on a map, but the line that joins all people is the line through our heart, as we're bonded together, in a heartfelt message of trying to help other folks to win and helping them to succeed. To me, that's what Diamond's all about. Oh yeah, it's beautiful to have the nice things and to see your wife. Can you picture your wife in a beautiful white or emerald green or navy, whatever color you choose, XJS convertible, just tooling down the highway, hair in the breeze, scarf around her neck, just kind of waving to everybody as you go by, and just kind of having fun. And she's got her hand on the steering wheel, and there's a 5 or 6 carat diamond cluster that almost blinds her as she drives down the road. Is there any gal here that would like to try to go through that challenge of seeing through a 5 or 6 carat diamond cluster? And you're just driving down the road, just kind of tooling down the countryside and just enjoying the beautiful world that God has put here, and enjoying the beauty that's all around us, and the smell in the breeze, and the leaves are flipping up behind you as you're just tooling down this country lane. And you're thinking about the couples that might have said no, and you say, Lord, why didn't they see it? We hope that they would see it. But our responsibility is to move on. You see, there's a big difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is kind of like if one of your friends is in a hole, and you walk over and you see him down in this big hole, and you say, and you jump in the hole with them. Empathy says, hey partner, hang on, I'll be right back. And you go get a 20-foot rope and you bring it back and you drop the rope in and you help them to climb out of the hole. And I think what we need is to have empathy for folks that are around us. Say, look, I understand where you are. Let me show you the rope. Let me show you the way out of the hole. Let me show you how somebody else helped us out of that same hole. Do you know what I mean? And I think we have to recognize where we are today, because that gives us a starting point as to where we want to be 10 or 15 or 20 years from now. Where do you want to be 5 years from now? I think of what it's like to be Diamond, to wake up when the bed has rejected you. Just sleep until you're done. You know what I mean? That's it. You know what I mean? Just kind of rested. When you drop your head on the pillow at night, you know that you're debt free. That the house you're sleeping in is yours. That the automobiles in the driveway are yours. That the bank doesn't own them. You have these drive-up windows at the banks here, don't you? And I thought in America, well, the reason they did it was for convenience sake. Later on, what I found out was so many people had borrowed money from them to buy cars. They want to look out and see how we're taking care of their cars. So you drive through, John, I'd wash that vehicle up a little bit. You know, you better clean her up. And I thought, boy, it'd be nice just to be debt-free. To be able to donate money to various causes and charities that you believe in. To be able to help somebody that maybe misfortune has fallen in their path. Not welfare, but to be able to help those in true need. That's what it's like to be a diamond. But just to have that freedom. To take your wife by the hand and travel around the world and fall in love all over again. To go to places like Hawaii and just walk the beach. You've got your beautiful swimming suit on and you're walking up the beach and just kicking the sand. And say, boy, doesn't this feel good? And you lay down in the sand and you've been in the water and the sand sticks all to you and say, this is great. And you curl your toes up in the sand and you just feel it and say, this is just what I thought Hawaii was going to be like. And you sit down and they give you one of these huge pineapple boats. And what they do is they take a pineapple and they slice it in half and they take all the juices and all the pineapple out of the inside. And then they set that aside and they fill the boat with vanilla ice cream. And then they put the pineapple slices back in around. They take a banana and they slip that all over it. And then they take macadamia nuts and they slice that all over that. They take a mound of whipped cream and they put it over top of that. And they put 75 red cherries on top of that. And they hand you a scoop shovel and they say, here, enjoy. And you take your spoon and you get down through this and your mouth, all you've got is just drooling all over the side. Oh, yeah, you go, this is great. Oh, I love this. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? And sitting there and just, oh, the desserts in life are wonderful. You know, the desserts that God has provided for us are wonderful. He wants us to enjoy those beautiful things. To take your wife on a helicopter tour of the islands. And as you're flying over one of the volcanoes, the pilot said, would you like a closer look? And you say, sure. So he turns the helicopter and dives right into the crater. And you have to look up to see the rim of the crater that goes the whole way around you. And you're flying in the interior. You can smell the lava coming up. You can feel the heat. And you watch it bubbling and surface, and you realize what a powerful earth we live in. That there's more to this than just you and I. And you fly out of there and you fly over the formations. You see where it came down to the sea and was crystallized instantaneously because where the hot and the cold came together. And it's still steaming, it's still bubbling, and you can smell it coming up through there. And you go back to the hotel and you sit down and you have a beautiful Hawaiian tropical drink, flowers and everything popping out of this drink, and you have the refreshment. You know, the beautiful places that you'll travel, unbelievable. To maybe take the kids and go to Disney World and spend some time at Disney World with them. You know, they tell me that women are afraid of mice. Is that true here? I think what it is, women are afraid of mice so that we men can maintain our chivalry. Because I've been to Disney World and I've seen them run up and hug a 6-foot rat. As he's walking around across, there he is, let's hug him. At home, a little bitty mouse like this sends Polly into orbit. Right? But it makes me feel good because I'm her hero. I'm her, you know, William the Conqueror. I will find that mouse. Right? But you know, they didn't call him William the Complacent, did they? He wasn't satisfied. Progress is made by people who just cannot accept the way things are today. You know, I mean, that there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something better to our life than just what exists today. What's your life at Diamond going to be like? To be invited to the White House, the President of the United States, and be able to meet Mr. Bush, and to be able to talk with Vice President Dan Quayle at the time, to meet and talk with President Ronald Reagan, and to talk with then Vice President George Bush. In fact, whenever George Bush became president, immediately the Israelis broke contact, all political ties, all relationships with America. I don't know if you heard that story. Because the last time the Israelis listened to a talking Bush, they spent 40 years wandering in the desert.